Welcome back, everybody! Woo. I decided to wake you guys up. You guys seemed a little bit asleep at the first service. So welcome back. If you're just joining us right now, welcome. We're going to get into the interactive Bible study here in a second, but before we get there, I got to do my little spiel here. Remember to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're watching on YouTube, and hit that notification bell. Choose all notifications. That way you will see when. Here comes your drink. That way you will see when Cornerstone puts up all of their videos, all of our videos here. But yeah, just so you know, liking the video, subscribing, that helps us appear higher on YouTube. So a lot of people like to say, I don't know what I could do for God. There's nothing that I can do. This is something really simple. It takes literally 5 seconds just to hit the little thumbs up and the little subscription button. And all that does is that helps our videos appear higher when people search things on YouTube. And that way, people get reached for God through Cornerstone a little more. So if you're looking for something that you can do, seriously, 5 seconds, that's all it takes, and you can do that. All right? Are you guys ready? Yes. Are you sure? Yes. Okay. Remember to put your questions in the chat if you're online, and if you have questions here, just raise your hand. Let's go. We're in 47. Genesis 47 is what he's telling me. So if you're getting your Bibles ready, Genesis 47 is where we're going to be. Alrighty, let's go.
Okay, good morning. Welcome to Bible study at Cornerstone. Welcome to all of you who are present. Welcome to those of you who are not present, okay, but are here, however that's possible. Now, we're continuing our study of the book of Joseph, or the book of Genesis, the story of Joseph. We are in chapter 47, and we're going to start at verse 1. Okay, now, while you're all searching for your place, let me just say that the pastor apparently created a YouTube dilemma with his devotional on Wednesday evening. Okay? So I'm not going to redo the devotional from Wednesday evening. And I am not going to say the word I said then, which created the YouTube dilemma. The reason I am telling you this is because if you go to look at the stream for Wednesday, it's not there. It's there? Oh, it's all there but me. But when I went there, none of it was there. Oh, you can't go through the church link to get there, which is what I did. So you have to go to YouTube and find it. But you won't find me, which was, of course, worth finding. Okay. I was saying to Perry a little while ago, it's part of the dilemma of our age is that you can use a word and cause a reaction without people actually understanding what you're doing with the word. Okay? It's part of the plight of hysteria. When you live in a hysterical culture, which we are currently making our way through, people don't listen logically when they are experiencing hysteria. They listen emotionally, and the result is that, okay, now in this case, it wasn't anybody's reaction to anything. It was a safety move on Peter's part, but YouTube apparently has electronic devices that search, and if you use a word they don't like, I don't know whether they're electronic or not, they're not human devices that automatically trigger out certain words, because we have freedom of speech in this country, and you're allowed to say what you're thinking. And people are bound to listen reasonably to everything you say. Now, having said that, we will begin Genesis 47, and later on, as we make our way through this, you will see exactly why I said that. Okay, are you ready? It says, Joseph went and told Pharaoh, my father and brothers with their flocks and herds and everything they own have come from the land of Canaan and are now in Goshen. He chose 5 of his brothers and presented them to Pharaoh. Always like that, because what that implies is that he picked the 5 most acceptable brothers. Because some of them are probably a little more sheepy than others, and you can take that the way you want. He picked the 5 acceptable ones. And it says, Pharaoh asked their brothers, what is your occupation? Okay. Your servants are shepherds, they replied to Pharaoh, just as our fathers were. They also said to him, we have come to live here a while because the famine is severe in Canaan and your servants' flocks have no pasture. So now please let your servants settle in Goshen. Goshen's the best pasture land. They want to settle there. We already know that shepherds are not the most acceptable occupation. Being a shepherd is not the most acceptable occupation in Egypt. They aren't really fond of shepherds. We discovered that in our study already. But nonetheless, the truth's out, and they're asking to be allowed to settle in the best place where shepherds could be settled. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, your father and your brothers have come to you, and the land of Egypt is before you. Settle your father and your brothers in the best part of the land. Let them live in Goshen. If you know of any among them with special ability, put them in charge of my own livestock. Now, tending livestock is not the same as shepherding. We learned this before. So if you tend animals, that's okay. But if you are shepherds, it's another thing. Okay? I just need to say to you that we tend to have a kind of a grandiose idea of the acceptability of shepherds in historical cultures. And that comes because we refer to Jesus as the good shepherd, and we think shepherds are nice and all that kind of stuff. But even in Israel, in Jesus' time, shepherds were looked down on. And the reason for their being looked down on is that they live out in the country, the wilderness. They don't... Look, this has been what my family refers to as creation weather. Okay? Now, if you've ever been to creation, you understand how the last several days have been creation weather. Okay? Yeah. Creation is this big Christian rock concert that we all used to go to out in the middle of Pennsylvania. And every year we went to creation, two things would happen. I mean, number one, you get up on a day like this and you feel the lovely crispness in the air and you say, oh, it is so pleasant. And then you think, but boy, is it going to be humid in an hour. Okay? And it always happens. And then you sit out there in the field in the midst of 100,000 people and you swelter. Okay? All right? Anybody there agree with me? That's one part. The other problem is these storms that we get that go whoosh, and everything's wet. Okay? Now, the bad part about creation when you get these storms things, okay, see, is that it is an old cow pasture. And the sun bakes it over top. And it gets nice and hard and dusty. Smelly, but hard and dusty. Okay? And when the rain comes, it cracks the hard surface. And up out of it comes this ugly gray ooze. Okay? That smells like what used to live there. Okay? All right, got it? All right. How many of you been there for that? It's lovely, isn't it? I mean, and people pay money to go have this happen to them. Okay, you can be sitting in your chair in sunshine in the middle of 100,000 people, and before you get back to the campsite, the rain can come with such intensity that you are soaked. And you know, immediately after, the ground's going to open and try to swallow me into ooze, and I'm going to return to my origins. Okay, I remember actually having the youth group, because we have canopies to keep us dry. I remember having the youth group hang on the poles of the canopies to hold them down when the winds came in the storms. Okay, we always sacrificed the kids, by the way. Okay, old people were not allowed to hang on canopies. Okay, we should tell them things like the poles are aluminum. You don't have to worry about the lightning. I'm sorry. Okay. Now look, here's the issue. If you've been at creation for a week, okay, you begin to have this sort of creation about you. Okay? All right? Now we take with us provisions like showers and soap and all that stuff. Okay? Wet ones to wipe your feet, okay, after you have walked in the dust or the primordial ooze. I mean, you got it. Shepherds didn't do that. They didn't have wet ones, Jeff. You are right, and they didn't have portable showers. So they became kind of And for Israelites, shepherds could not keep the religious traditions. I mean, if you're out in the field, how do you do the ceremonial hand washings? Okay, if you're out in the field and you're supposed to be in church on Sunday morning, how do you get there? Who takes care of the sheep while you're there? It's all this big issue. So shepherds tend to be a race of people who are looked down upon. Okay? In every age, there are races of people, groups of people, who are looked down upon. It is wrong. Okay? It's just wrong. Okay? And what I want to say to you is, we in this age, if we have any sense about us at all, are agreed. Injustice extended to any person for any reason is wrong. We agree. Okay, now, part of me wants to say, when we are agreed, we don't need to do what we are currently doing. It is a hysterical reaction. We are agreed. Now, what I want to say is let's get over the moment and find the solution to the problem. Okay, you with me? All right, so if we're agreed, we don't need to sit around and argue for agreement. What we need to do is move on. We've agreed. Let's fix it. And let's put the best minds we've got to the task and fix it. Okay, I'm a fix-it person. If it's broken, fix it. Okay, got it? All right, you understand. So to tend animals, Pharaoh's putting this in the best light he can, is okay. To be a shepherd is a whole different thing. Okay? But what he is saying to Joseph, if you got any brothers who are exceptionally skilled in tending animals, tell me and I'll help them out. I'll give them a better job. I'll elevate them. They can become part of my household. Okay? What he's basically saying is, I like to pull them out of that mess that they're in. If you just give me a chance, I'll help. Okay? Got it? Questions yet? Everybody's with me still? Question.
If they took all those animals with them and he's going to take some of them and elevate them up, are they going to still be shepherds? The ones that don't get elevated? Or
Yeah.
are they going to pretend? I mean, how do
No, the issue is how you say the word. Okay? There is a huge difference between garbage and garbage. Okay, so it's how you approach this thing. Okay, we're going to put the best light on it. Okay, and in addition to that, they are going to go live in Goshen, not in the capital of Egypt. They're going to go live in Goshen. Okay, you with it? I always have trouble with this part of it because I want to know what the people of Goshen are thinking. I really do want a section here where the people of Goshen say, we are really glad to have these Hebrews coming to live among us. It's going to make our life so much better to have Hebrews. I have a sneaking suspicion that behind all of this there is this murmur of discontent coming from Goshen. But the huge difference here is that this is a kingdom, not a republic. Okay? So the people in Goshen have no right of redress. Okay? Pharaoh's decided, too bad for you. Okay, got it? All right? We can fix this because we live in a republic and we have the right to fix it and we should be working to fix it. When we agree there's a problem, we fix it. Okay? All right, you heard me. I did it. All right, now, it says, Then Joseph brought his father Jacob in and presented him to Pharaoh. After Jacob blessed Pharaoh, Pharaoh asked him, how old are you? How old are you? Okay. And it says, And Jacob said to Pharaoh, The years of my pilgrimage are 130. My years have been few and difficult, and they do not equal the years of the pilgrimage of my fathers. Then Jacob blessed Pharaoh and went out from his presence. Now, I am not sure what Jacob said to Pharaoh. Pharaoh said, "How old are you?" And he said, "The years of my pilgrimage have been 130, but they're few." Okay? I don't want to live to be 130. Okay? All right? Today was June Ross's birthday. She's 85, okay, or 84. I have this little sneaking suspicion that she thinks she's not got 50 years left. Okay? All right, you with me? Okay? Now, what he does then is compare them to the years of his fathers. And what we know is that the descendants, the ones from whom he descended, lived a whole lot longer than he did. So relatively speaking, he is not old, is what he says to Pharaoh, I think. Okay? Given everything, I'm only 130. Yes, ma'am.
Did people in that time period, did they normally live to be 130, or was there?
Yes.
They did.
Yes. It's a whole different discussion, but what you have to understand is the reason for death. You do know why you die. Because you have sinned. We die because we have sinned. So when you look at the history of the biblical history of the world, what you discover is that at the beginning, when we had only messed up a little bit, lifespan is longer. Okay, as the cumulative effect of sin rolls on, okay, lifespan correspondingly decreases. Okay, until God gets merciful and says, you're going to live about 80 years and that's it. Okay, now I used to get a kick out of this when I was in college, because they would tell you that people back at the time of the American Revolution, for instance, didn't live as long as we do now. Okay, that is a mishandling of historical statistics. What they're giving you is an average lifespan. So more people died younger than do today. Okay, so if you look at the average of lifespan, it was shorter than this day because more people died younger than they do today. However, how old was Thomas Jefferson when he died? Anybody know? Your homework then. Go find out how old Jefferson was when he died. Okay, and while you do George Washington and John Adams, take the three of them. And next week when we come back, if I fail to ask you, you've done the homework, you tell me how old they are. What you're going to discover is that they lived to be about 80. Okay, they also used to say that this was one of my interests when I was in college in particular was architecture and the history of architecture. Okay, and I used to like to go to Winter Museum because I was at the University of Delaware, it's close by, and they would give students at the University of Delaware special permission to take an article of furniture that's at Winter and research it. Okay, so there's a chair there. Oh, here's a good example. There's a chair there that has a seat about as high as this one. Okay, and what they concluded in the article about this chair was that the guy had this chair because he was shorter than people were shorter than, so he wanted the chair to be higher. So it would be, now, why I'm not shorter, but why am I sitting on this chair? To be higher. It has nothing to do with whether I'm tiny or big. It's the fact that when I'm sitting in front of you, I want you all to be able to see me, so I sit on a high chair. Okay? All right? It's fascinating what we do with statistics. get them all confused. Let me just also say while I'm there that if you're very careful about looking at COVID statistics, you will discover they are doing the same thing with them. Okay? You know, for instance, that the number of reasons, the reason that there were more cases of COVID known is because they increased testing for COVID. So when they did more tests, they found more cases. Had we done the same number of tests, we might not have discovered any peak in cases. Okay, so it's just the way you handle statistics. Peter's back there giving all kinds of running commentary about statistics. All right, we're getting to my favorite part of this, and I don't want to miss it. It says, verse 11, "So Joseph settled his father and his brothers in Egypt and gave them property in the best part of the land, the district of Ramses, as Pharaoh directed. Joseph also provided his father and his brothers and all his father's household food according to the number of their children." Now, in Wilmington, okay, which is where I grew up in Newcastle. I can do Newcastle. Okay, in the city of little city of Newcastle, the best real estate is on a strip of land called the Strand. Okay, and when the settlers first came to Newcastle and settled there, 16 something. Okay, that's where really wealthy people settled and built mansions, which are still there. If you go to the Strand, you walk along it, and you see the mansions. Okay, now Ramses is the Strand of Goshen. Okay, and what happens is these shepherds end up in Newcastle. And basically, the vice president of the United States, Joseph, says to the people who've got mansions on the Strand, we're taking these, they're going to live here, you're out. Okay, now it all sounds so pleasant to us when we read it here. It's going to get really nasty after this verse, but it all sounds so pleasant to us as we read along here. But if you're a person who's got a mansion on the Strand, you're not really happy when Joseph comes and says, "My dad's living in your house, you're out." Okay, I see you. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? Okay, so you have to understand that there is a mass resettlement of rich people occurring here who they can't be happy. But they have no right of redress. They can't say anything, because if they complain to Pharaoh about this, you know what happens to them? Off with their heads. Okay? They got to just eat their disappointment. Makes you happy when that happens. Diane has a question. Oh. Okay, go ahead. I said Thomas Jefferson. 83, Jefferson, okay? Washington. 67, a little younger.
Adams was not quite 91.
Adams made it to almost 91. See? What was that? Madison was 85. She did all the presidents to figure it out here. I can tell you what George's problem was. Martha. Was that Martha died at 33? Really? I know what Martha's problem was. George made it to 67. Okay. All right. You got this? I'm telling you that these decisions, which seem like they are all of God and are so pleasant, and they're recorded here in the Bible, and the words just go, and we go over them. You got to realize that we're dealing with human beings who are going to react to these decisions because these decisions are going to affect their lives. Okay, got it? I'm just delighted by that Governor Murphy wants to have a bathroom tax in New Jersey. Yeah, you're allowed one bathroom. Okay, and then as you get more bathrooms, your taxes, your property taxes in New Jersey go up. according to the number of bathrooms. There's going to be a tax on your bathrooms. Because New Jersey needs money. And rich people have more bathrooms than poor people. Okay? On the bathroom scale, Lois and I are very wealthy. Because we have 3.5 bathrooms. Okay? So what he's going to do is charge us more. We're going to get a surtax on our bathrooms. Okay? It's really a good idea if you're the governor. Okay? How many bathrooms do we have? Oh, I don't know, but the governor, is exempt. He doesn't, it's not going to. Okay, got it? It's a great idea. I give him credit for thinking of it. Okay, we're turning our bathrooms into closets. The English have the right name for it. Now, we're going back to verse 13. You ready? Here I go. This is the part of the story which says, there was no food, however, in the whole region because the famine was severe. Both Egypt and Canaan wasted away because of the famine. Now, that is a historical remark which sets the scene for what's about to be revealed to us. Okay, so there is no food. We already know that. Joseph has made provision to help Egypt through that. Okay, but it is a severe famine, meaning that there are people who are destitute throughout the area. Okay, who they haven't any food. Okay, there was a report on the television the other day about a little old lady, and I don't know what city she was in, who was destitute because the rioters had destroyed all of the grocery stores around her. They had rioted, and she was in tears because she didn't know how she was going to get food. Okay, nobody thought about her. Okay, nobody gave that lady a thought. Okay, now I'm sure people brought her food when they saw her because people were generous, and that's the way we respond. But that's part of the issue. Okay, all right. So there's hardship. There's hardship around us today, and it says Joseph collected all the money that was to be found in Egypt and Canaan in payment for the grain they were buying, and he brought it to Pharaoh's palace. Now, Joseph has set up this wonderful welfare plan. You just give Pharaoh all your money, and Pharaoh will take care of you. Okay? And you'll have plenty of food, and you won't have to worry. Okay? Now, all he's doing is charging them a fair price for the grain they're buying. But eventually, they don't. When the famine comes, the economy of the area shuts down. Okay, people can't work. There's nothing to do. They don't have anything. They can't do it. So eventually, guess what they run out of? Money. And when you run out of money, guess what happens? There is no grain for you. Because there has to be some way to control this. Not everybody can get free grain. Okay, so you have to be able to buy it. You have to give something to get it. And when you run out of the thing that we want in order to get the grain, guess what you don't get? What you need. There's no grain. This is the way life works. Okay? It's the way life works. So now the dilemma is this. There is grain, but there's no money. All right? There is grain, but there is no money. Okay? So it says, verse 15, when the money of the people of Egypt and Canaan was gone, all Egypt came to Joseph and said, give us food. Why should we die before your eyes? Our money is used up. So they say to the government, okay, we need another stimulus check. Okay? Because we're out. We don't have anything. Okay? you surely don't want us to die from starvation, and you've got grain over there, okay? So you got it, right? You getting it? And it says, verse 16, then bring your livestock, said Joseph. I will sell you food in exchange for your livestock since your money is gone. Now, what the government says to the people is, okay, got it. I understand. You're out of money. Okay? Just bring us your sheep and your goats and your cows, and we'll barter. Okay? We'll give you grain. You just give us all your animals. Okay? Now, there is a huge dilemma developing here. The people are becoming increasingly dependent upon the government. Okay? And at first, everybody's going, well, I got to eat. What are we going to do? Okay? Now, at this point, they don't have any money. Okay? And what the government is doing is taking the next best thing. Okay? So they're grabbing up the animals now. All right? And it says, verse 17, so they brought their livestock to Joseph, and he gave them food in exchange for their horses, their sheep, their goats, their cattle, and their donkeys. And he brought them through the year with food in exchange for all their livestock. Okay, so when their money is gone, he says, okay, bring us your cars. Okay? And we'll barter for your car, your horses, your livestock. You just, bring us what you got. We'll make a deal. Okay? And it looks as if the government is being benevolent. Okay? We got a crisis going on here. What we have, somebody's got to have, we don't want them to starve. We better give them a stimulus check. We better do the best thing we can because we got a problem going on here. Something has to happen. Someone has to give. So we'll just give them a little bit more and take a little bit more. Okay, I just want to make this really clear to you. Okay, the stimulus checks that we were given were not a gift to us from the government. Do you know where the government gets its money? From us. So they may give it to us today, but tomorrow they're going to say, and they're going to take it back. Okay? Now, I don't know what you said, but listen to me. I'm absolutely sure that's going to happen because they're already beginning to talk about it. Okay? So New York is bankrupt. Philadelphia is bankrupt. Okay? Somebody said something else? Okay, look, the cities are bankrupt. So where do they want to go to get the money to solve their economic problem? To the federal government. Where does the federal government get its money? Okay? It's all going to come back here, folks, eventually. Okay? And we can't blindly assume that the government is acting in our best interest at any moment in time. Okay? That's why we are called upon, as good citizens, to be diligent. Okay? We have to be watching what the government's doing, because the government's not always our friend. I'm running through all the scenarios that I could possibly do to find an example when the government really is our friend. Okay? And all I want to say to you is, I'm not anti-government. I'm just telling you that we got to watch them. Okay? And the other thing I just have to ask you this. How many of you have a private ice cream freezer? In your home, you have a private ice cream freezer? I didn't ask if you like one. I asked how many of you have one. Okay, I just want to say, I'm not going to say her name, but how dare she talk about her ice cream freezer and her gourmet ice cream at this particular moment in time? Oh, I know she's got my best interest at heart. I am absolutely sure she does. Okay, but she's got an ice cream furnace. We're against walls. But how many government officials don't have walls around their estates? I have seen the Biden mansion. Walls, gates, guards. Oh, let me do this one just for fun. Are they going to give up their guards at their estates? If we dismantle police departments, will they give up their guards too? Are they going to go places on regular airplanes rather than their private jets? Are their Secret Service people going to stop carrying weapons when we banned guns? But it's okay because you can trust the government. Okay, anyway. Joseph has now taken all their money and all their livestock. And this gets them through a year. Then it says, when that year was over, they came to him the following year and said, we cannot hide from our Lord the fact that since our money is gone and our livestock belongs to you, there is nothing left for our Lord except our bodies and our land. Why should we perish before your eyes, we and our land as well? Buy us and our land in exchange for food. And we, with our land, will be in bondage to Pharaoh. Give us seed so that we may live and not die, and that the land may not become desolate. What they say is, we will sell you us. You just promise to take care of us as your slaves, Pharaoh, and forever we will be happy after that. Just get us through this mess, and we will be your slaves forever. Are you serious? Really? You think it's going to be better for you to become somebody's slave than to figure this out and find a solution? You really believe that? Are you ready to turn everything over to the government? Now, I'm going to get really political here, but that is the direction in which our government is moving quick. Okay? I've heard the arguments where we just turn everything over to the government and all of us will get $2,000 a month to live on. All you got to do is sell them your soul. Okay? And once your salary comes from the government, you think the government's going to let you say what you want to say about the government? Well, the first thing they'll do is take away your salary. And then where are you? And once they get you, what's going to stop them from doing whatever they want to do? When you no longer have the right to express your grievance to the government, what's going to happen to you? Okay, you see what I'm saying here? Now, what I want you to understand is we're going through a passage of the Scripture which no one ever talks about. Okay? Joseph is a man of God who is operating on behalf of God and who, if he could live forever, would have protected the people from all of the problems of bondage to government. But you want to know a secret? Joseph died. And when Joseph died, things changed in Egypt. And good people were no longer in charge of the government. And guess what happened to Israel? because all those people in Goshen were angry because they moved in and took their estates. So there was revenge upon Israel. And for 400 years, they lived as slaves to Pharaoh. Can I just tell you a little secret here? History would have been very different if Jacob had remained in Canaan. But for the sake of grain, people were willing to surrender their freedom. And when they surrendered their freedom, over time, they became slaves to the government. Okay, if I'm not telling you what the text says, speak back to me. I'm giving it to you the way it's laid out here. Yes, ma'am.
Actually, I never thought about how they became slaves. This is a story of how they became slaves for 400 years.
Yes. This is what sets them up for their bondage, their 400 years of bondage. Okay. I'm going to get in trouble here. I'll try not to. I'll try to say this in such a way as not to get in trouble. Do you know who sold black people to become slaves in white countries? Black people. Okay? And why did they do it? And what does the Bible tell us about the love of money? Okay? All right. Now, so what you're dealing with here is the fact that they are brought there in a bad time. Actually, they're brought to Egypt in a time like the time we're living through, a time of severe crisis. Okay? They are given special privilege to get through the crisis because they end up in Goshen on the strand. Okay? But behind the scenes, there's all this stuff going on. I just want you to know, you ready to hear this? It was not right to give the children of Israel the land of Goshen. It wasn't right. It was legal, but it wasn't right. And the result is that once you push the first domino, they all start falling. That's what we're seeing here. Yes, ma'am.
So it was Joseph's family in Goshen.
Yes.
That became, what happened to all the other tribes? Were they become slaves also?
They are, that's it.
Just Joseph.
Yes.
Was the slaves. And then they became millions of people.
At the time, okay, all right, we're in Genesis, okay? She's in Joshua, okay? Between Genesis and Joshua, there are hundreds of years of history. At the time we are reading about, the entire nation of Israel was the family of Jacob. The other tribes don't come, the rest of that's hundreds of years away yet. Okay, this is the entire nation of Israel. That's why Jacob's name is Israel. Okay, they are the entire nation. Okay, and what's happened is that the entire nation has put themselves in the hands of a foreign government, with the assumption that that government will be benevolent to them forever and ever. Amen. And all I'm saying to you is that history proves that government is not the answer. Do you remember why there was an American Revolution? Because government was the answer. Okay, and one of the things the framers of our Constitution were consciously trying to do was limit the size of government. Because when government gets big, and powerful, it grabs. And the grabbers of power are smart enough to do it in a benevolent way. So while they're taking your stuff, you're saying, oh, aren't they good? Okay? Diane.
So basically, the ones that stayed in Canaan and then went to Pharaoh later were all part of Jacob's family also?
Yeah. There is this guy named Jacob who has 12 sons. Okay? The 12 sons eventually develop into the 12 tribes of Israel. See how this all fits together? But at the moment about which we are talking, they are 12 boys with one dad named Jacob, who each begin to have their own families. Like it happens. Okay? You understand this, right? You catching on? Okay. My grandfather was the youngest of 10 children born to his father and mother. Okay? They came here from Denmark and they settled in Elkton, Maryland. Okay? All right? Got it? Okay? Those 10 children went out into the world and started their own families. My grandfather, the youngest, also had 10 children. I am related to every Jensen in the world. Okay? They went everywhere. I run into people whose name is Jensen. I don't know that I know them, but I don't know them, but I know they're related. Okay? That's how it is with Israel and his sons. They are all of Israel. This family is Israel. They are now settling into Egypt and trusting the government to take care of them. But it's not just them. All the rest of Egypt is selling itself into slavery for the sake of food. They're saying to the government, oh yes, please take care of me, otherwise I will die. But there is a cost for surrendering freedom. And they are surrendering their freedom. Now, I am not sure whether Julia is praising God or has her hand in the air. To the food situation, okay? Yes. Yes. Look, I'm going to do this again. That's what the government is doing to us. They are not giving us something which was not ours. They are returning to us what we already gave to them. Okay? We shouldn't be feeling gratitude to them for giving us back what we gave them in the first place. We should instead be saying, now wait a minute. Okay? What's going to happen when you run out? Oh, wait, you're going to raise my taxes. Oh, eventually I'm going to give you back 5 times as much as you've given me. All right? So all I'm saying to you is that we need to understand that our government works for us. We don't work for the government. And the tables in our time are shifting. And there really are people in Washington today who are arguing that you should get a salary check. What are they going to do, okay, after... What are they going to tax? Bathrooms. I already heard that. Okay? I'm sorry, but are you getting this? Are you understanding this? It is a time. Now, we have an election coming in the fall. Okay? And you better be thinking really seriously about who you're going to vote for in that election. Because if what you're doing is voting for the one who says they're going to give you the most, what you're going to discover is you voted for the one who's going to take the most. Because they got to take a lot to give it to you. All right? Now, I am grateful to God for this story. This is extremely troubling. Okay? The question is, do I want to be a slave? Am I willing to surrender my freedom to fill my belly? Or am I willing to endure hardship to honor God and to be free? You have to make a choice. She says, what happens if you want to be free but you don't want to die of starvation? You have to decide what you are willing to do to preserve your freedom. Okay, our forefathers in this country were willing to die to be free. Okay, we're in a moment where we're going to have to determine whether or not our comfort is more important to us than our freedom. Well, that's why I'm preaching today. Okay? And I wish there were 1 million people who tuned in to hear our Bible study, and there'll be 174 or 175, but there won't be 1 million. But all I can do is tell you what the Bible says. That's my job. It's what God told me to do, and what I've been doing here now for all these years. I can't get out of here to go not do it because God apparently wants me to say it. I just want you to know that when I read the Bible, I am so grateful to God. Okay, because he does show us the consequences of our choices. Okay? You pick a full belly and you will not honor God. Okay? Okay, God won't let you starve to death is the issue. He will provide. That's the point of the day. The thing we've been celebrating in worship is that God provides. Let me just say this to you. Okay? We have nothing to fear. Okay? Because God is our Father. Okay? We sing it all the time. Okay? We sing these words all the time. Okay? All right? Okay? Nothing can prevail against us. The gates of hell are nothing. Okay? Now, it doesn't mean there might not be hardship out there for us to endure, but the fact of the matter is, the remnant, those who endure the hardship, are restored. Okay? I don't know where you're going when you die. They kill me, I'm going right to heaven. Okay? There is nothing for me to fear. They can't take my life. They make me suffer when I'm here, but God will take care of that too. Okay, now look, this is a time am I out of time? This is the time in the history of the world when the church needs to rise. Okay, and we need to be the church. And the government wants to be God. And it's time for us to say, hey, back off, dudes. God is God. God is God. We have gone through the first time in the history of our nation when the First Amendment of the Constitution was violated and the government passed laws governing the practice of religion. It's time to say no to the government. If we don't, we will eventually be slaves again. That's what the Bible teaches. I have to stop because I am out of time. We will come back to this verse next week and continue our discussion. I hope you don't mind it being political, but there's got to be a lot of political pressure on the children of God this time. God is pushing us to be His, not theirs. You cannot serve two masters. If you try it, you will hate one and despise the other, or you will despise one and hate the other. You've got to have one master who is your master. Okay, thank you. Worship starts in a few minutes.